to our last example here. How do we get a common denominator with three things, did we say? Multiply them all together. So that it won't be lowest terms, okay, but you can do that. You can do 4 times 5 times 6. Does anyone have a calculator or their times tables memorized? What does that turn into? Go ahead, Josh. 120, wonderful. Now this is what makes fractions not difficult, because fractions aren't difficult. You guys shouldn't be afraid of fractions. Okay? The problem is how did I get 120 in the first fraction? We're going to have to multiply the entire first fraction by. 30, not 40. Now, I have to multiply it by 5 and then by 6, right? So I took this, no, right? I took this and I multiplied it by 5 and 6. So I'm going to take the numerator here, and I'm also going to times it by 5 and 6. So 3 times 30 should be 90. Okay, I'm going to take a pause right here. Or is anyone not okay with where I got the 30 from? Okay, so just what I did there, Cassie, okay? You okay how I got the 120? I'm multiplying them all together. I already have a 4 here, so I had to times it by 5 and 6, right? And 5 times 6 is 30. So the numerator I also times by 5 and 6. So this times 5 and then that times 6. Okay. Everyone else somewhat okay on that? Okay, someone now be brave, that being John. What's up to multiply the middle fraction by? 12 if you did it in lowest terms, which you probably did. Yeah. Okay, but in this one I'm going to challenge it by 24. Okay. Where did the 24 come from? I know someone other than John here. Where did the 24 come from? Aiden, go ahead. Yeah, right? 4 times 6 is 24. So I'm just going to do 4 times 4 is 16 times 6 is 96. Someone confirm that? I think that's 96, right? Okay. Maggie, what am I going to multiply the right-hand one by? Yeah, for the by 20, right? Times 4 then times 5, so it's going to be times 20. Okay, so 5 times 4 is 20, times 5 is 100. Okay, are we somewhat okay with what's happened there for those? Right, they're just equivalent fractions. Now, John, and maybe if other people use smaller terms, and that's fine to use, and that's perfectly okay. All right. Christopher, you have the most difficult job of the day. What is 90 plus 96 plus 100? Christopher, what is that?
126.
How much, sorry?
286.
286, sorry, about 120. Good. Okay, Aiden, we are not yet finished. How can I tell looking at that? Yeah, I can bring it to lowest terms. How can I tell that I can instantly do that, Aiden? They're both even. We'll start with that. Divide by 2. That should be 143. All right? Over 60. I think that's in most terms now. Now, you could have used 60 as a common denominator in your first step. Is that somewhat okay with what's going on here? Oh, goodness, too much. Sorry? Please. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so just what happened here, I had to think, in order to get from 4 to 120, I had to times by 30. Now, the way the 30 came from was the 5 times the 6. So what I did was I did 3 times 5 is 15, and then 15 times 6 is 90. So 3 over 4 is the same as, you multiply the numerator by 30, also the denominator by 30. Because, right, like 3 times 30 is 90, 4 times 30 is 120. Sorry? So all I'm saying is here, whatever you multiply the denominator by, you also do the same for the numerator, right? So the denominator here, I multiply by 5 and 6, right? So the numerator I also times by 5 and 6. And that's, so that's just correct. Okay, go ahead.
So that's why you times numerator and denominator by 24.
Yeah, this one was 24 because, you're right, 6 and 4 is 24 to get to 120 here. So 6 times 4 is 24 to multiply by that one. Good. I'm going to skip letter C, sorry, for subtraction. I do it quick on the board just to make sure it answers, just to go fast, because I want to get to timesing. Okay, what I did for this one here changes to be 25 over 8 minus 2 over 5. right, 3 times 8 is 24, and then another one is, let's see, just let me see the video of that. Common denominator is gonna be 40. The reason I got 40 was I multiplied 8 times 5. 25 times 5 is 125, 8 times 2 is 16, and that should be, oh my goodness, 100, yeah, 9, is that right? 440? Can somebody confirm that? Yeah, that's what it should, that was what it should there, though, right? That was the fast version. I want to do multiplying and dividing fractions quickly. Okay, this is easy. Multiplying and dividing fractions is easy. I'm just going to do it fast. If we don't have time to finish, I'll do some tomorrow, but I want to get it done here. For multiplying, you just multiply the numerator, multiply straight across. Actually, you know what, I'm not going to rush through this, because you guys are not going to learn it. I'm not going to rush through that. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop, because if I rush, no one will understand. Your homework tonight is just going to be then, that is. It looks like it's just going to be number 1, A to H, and 3. Okay. But I'd rather me rush and don't understand. It's okay, I'm not going to do that. Okay, so 1, A to H, and 3. Everyone got that piece of paper? I hope. Okay. Now, when I notice last time, when I noticed last time, I'm going to hit pause here so people don't even hear me yelling. Yeah, I don't know if you can hear that.